D-Lo 404 Boxing and More. Shout out to the LDBC. I want to talk a little bit about Luis King Kong Ortiz one more time. So on my video that I made last week, where I was talking about, Ortiz is allegedly confirmed to be 49 years old, which I also will be dropping another video that suggests otherwise, but I'm not gonna talk about that in this video. Actually have a video that I'm gonna drop that is evidence to support that he is actually 39 years old and not 49. But I may make it this evening and drop it tonight or something. I don't know. But anyway, on my video where I was talking about Luis Ortiz is allegedly confirmed to be 49 years old, and basically these guys are still avoiding him. One guy came on my post and made a comment. Now, I'm not sure if he's a subscriber or not, but he made the comment that basically said Luis Ortiz has done nothing in boxing. He didn't win anything in boxing. He hadn't won the Olympics, anything in the amateurs, which is not true. I mean, he's won some things in the amateurs. He may not have won an Olympic gold medal or bronze or silver, but he's won some things in the amateurs. But that's the amateurs. But he also said he's never won anything as a professional. And I'm sure this same guy who said that probably considers Dillian Whyte some kind of champion because he's won a diamond belt or silver belt or whatever it is. I mean, hell, Luis Ortiz has won his interim title before. When he's like he won like a WBA interim title or something. But I don't even really count that stuff. But I know the only reason I bring it up because the whole thing the guy was saying is in defense of Dillian Whyte not facing the guy. But to his comment that Luis Ortiz has not won anything in boxing, I beg the question, what has Dillian Whyte won in boxing? Dillian Whyte has yet to have a title shot in professional boxing. Dillian Whyte was not some decorated amateur, that's for sure. Since we're talking about amateur or pro, Luis Ortiz is clearly the more decorated amateur. Luis Ortiz is the more respectable, more recognizable as far as who's who atop the heavyweight division over here in America. Luis Ortiz is revered. We look at Dillian Whyte as like some sideshow, gimmick, some clown, because of how he conducts himself when it comes to certain issues, certain people. Had a lot of respect for Dillian Whyte when he was, seemingly willing to face any and everybody, and then all of a sudden when Luis Ortiz's name came up, he kind of shape-shifted right before our eyes and started, becoming a businessman. Started talking about, people pricing themselves out of fights and this, that, and the other. And, also when he was talking to Chisora ahead of them getting a fight made with all this, I need sight, all that nonsense. That just, I lost a lot of respect for him. And I also feel like, I've said this before, I've said it twice, more than twice probably, and I'll say it again. What's the hold up to making this rematch? Why now? That Chisora rematch should have happened probably, like I said before, that rematch should have happened on the heels of that first fight. When you have a fight in that close, people in the press row, people on social media, so forth, so on, all, divided on who should have won the fight because it was that close. I mean, that rematch is good business since he wants to wear his businessman hat. And we know, Eddie Hearn, is all about the business side of boxing. That was a very lucrative opportunity to get that rematch made straight away. To me, the rematch was a bigger fight on the heels of that first fight than it is now. Okay? That's what I got to say about that. Right now, when he called out Luis Ortiz is very respected. You know, if not before, he's very respected off of the heels of that Wilder fight. How that Wilder fight went and his subsequent fight after that, you know. So, you know, and he knocked the guy out in, I think it was the second round, that went the distance with Joseph Parker. The guy who Dillian White, you know, also went the distance with and won a decision over, but also was nearly knocked out in the 12th round against. So, and I'm not saying because this happened in this fight or because this happened in that fight, that means that's how this fight will go. That has nothing to do with it. I'm not using some triangle theory. I'm just saying that for the sake of validation, to say that, hey, when you look at common opponents, you can't dismiss Luis Ortiz because he dispatches of these guys in spectacular fashion. I mean, even when you talk about Brian Jennings coming off the heels of a 12-round decision against Vladimir Klitschko in a fight that was, you know, to the spectators, announcers, everybody watching the fight was like, wow, Klitschko can't get rid of this guy. And Brian Jennings was doing a lot of good work. He was just, Klitschko's size was too much for Jennings. And also Jennings just didn't have the power or wasn't able to put the power on his punches to really put some hurt on Klitschko. But against Luis Ortiz, he got knocked out in the very next fight. So, I mean, you can't just dismiss Luis Ortiz and say, oh, he hasn't fought anybody and, you know, he hasn't done anything in boxing and the other one. We know that Luis Ortiz is ready and willing to fight anybody. I mean, I've never heard Luis Ortiz say he doesn't want to fight some guy. And on the contrary, I've heard guys say they don't want to fight Luis Ortiz. Even though they tried to spin it and put a business spin on it, and of course they don't want to just come right out and say that, you know, this guy's a bad matchup for me. But they've tried to put some kind of business spin on it to justify the ducking, so to speak. But that said, you got Dillian White, who was reportedly going to fight Luis Ortiz, and then that fell through, and he got a fight with Joseph Parker signed in like 24 hours. Dillian White was supposed to fight Pulev around the same time frame, pulled out of that fight because they lost the purse bid and didn't want to fight. So, I mean, and even I think at one time he actually said that he didn't want the Joshua rematch yet because he wasn't ready or something like that. You know, he wanted it, but he wasn't ready for it. It's like, okay. So, no, Dillian White, you're not ready and willing to face everybody. And especially Luis Ortiz. But back on this whole hasn't done anything in boxing topic that this guy said, what has Chisora done in boxing? I mean, from my vantage point, I'm not sure what Chisora did as an amateur. But once again, this is professional boxing, so it matters, but doesn't matter. But I'm only saying it for the point of this is what the guy who left the comment said. He brought up amateurs. But I've never heard of Chisora being some highly decorated amateur. If he was, then it escaped, you know what I'm saying, my research. I just never seen anything. I mean, I'm not going to say I delve into it deeply, but I just never seen anything that suggested that he was just some, you know, top tier amateur with some, you know, gleaming record as an amateur or anything. Okay? As a professional, maybe he's won a Commonwealth title here and there. Maybe he's won a British title here and there. Whatever. I don't know. But all I know is every time Derek Chisora has stepped up and challenged for a heavyweight world championship, he got beat. You know, and that's the truth of the matter. And he's also already been beaten by Dillian White although from my vantage point, I felt like Chisora won that fight. I felt like he won it close, so there was no point in arguing about it or making a big stink about it, even, you know, posting videos about it, because it was such a close fight that it wasn't really worth the back and forth about who won. It was close enough that, well, you know, if the judge saw 1 or 2 rounds another way, then you understood why the other guy got the fight, and there was some close rounds in there. So it was nothing to argue. Now, Dillian White's account of it is he felt like he won at least 8 rounds. And I disagree with that. I don't think that's the case. But it is what it is. You know, Dillian White got that win. He owns a win over Derek Chisora. So that's officially on his record. Also, we know Derek Chisora has fought Tyson Fury. Of course, this is before Fury was world champion. He fought Tyson Fury on 2 occasions. I think the first time went to a decision. The second time, Fury knocked him out. Or either it was in reverse. But I think it was the second fight. It was a knockout or a stoppage. I think his corner stopped the fight. Ref stopped the fight or something. But that goes down officially as a KO, TKO, KO, whatever. So, I mean, Chisora is not some world beater. Chisora is not some guy that if he calls a guy out that's another contender like himself, that guy's gonna go out of his way not to fight him, like Dillian White does with Luis Ortiz. So, you know, I know people are gonna always make excuses for the fighters that they like. Not everyone, but a lot of people will. But I'll say this, I've said it on another video, I'll say this again as well. Had Dillian White taken that Luis Ortiz fight, especially if he fought him on the Wilder undercard and got that American exposure on that undercard and beat Luis Ortiz, there is no way that Deontay Wilder supporters, and I'll even say, in my opinion, the LDBC in particular, would not put pressure on Deontay Wilder to be a man of his word and give Dillian White that fight. And I don't think we'd have to be honest. I think Wilder would welcome that fight with open arms, because he did what he said he needed to do. And not only that, the WBC mandated that fight, said that he would be a mandatory challenger if he won that fight. But even if he beat Ortiz in the UK, I think Wilder would have had the same, you know, been just as willing to give him that fight. I mean, because the bottom line, he said beat Luis Ortiz. He didn't say where he got to beat him at. But if it was on that undercard, my goodness, I mean, you got Dillian White beats Luis Ortiz, and immediately after the fight grabs the microphone and says, "Wilder, let's go!" You know, right there in America. Yeah, it'll be hard to get away from making that fight. And be honest, a lot of us in the LDBC want Deontay Wilder to knock Dillian White out. We just don't want Deontay Wilder to have to fight Dillian White before he gets the AJ fight, when he and AJ are both sitting there as the champions. You know, it doesn't make sense when... Anyway, I'm not going to get into all that. That's a topic for another video, and I've talked about that enough already. But like I said, I want Wilder to fight Dillian White. I don't want him to have to fight Dillian White on Eddie Hearn's terms to get an Anthony Joshua fight, when it doesn't make sense for that fight not to happen. You know, that's my take on that. But as for who's done what in boxing, I think as professionals, Dillian White, Derek Chisora, and Luis Ortiz are all right there together in terms of where they stand in the heavyweight picture. They're all contenders. None of them are champions. None of them are former champions. None of them are prospects. They're all contenders. Neither of them is any more deserving of a fight against each other than the other guy is. The only difference is one guy strikes fear in the eyes, in the hearts of so many top heavyweights that you can't deny. But I'm sure there'll be some who come out in the comment section of this video who will say, nobody's afraid of Luis Ortiz. He doesn't bring any money to the table. Yada, 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 yada. Excuse, excuse, excuse. He's getting older by the day, and hopefully one day he'll be so old that my fighter doesn't have to fight him. That's really what they're thinking, or that he can beat him. You know, because the bottom line is, if Luis Ortiz hadn't done anything in boxing and he's not a viable threat in the heavyweight picture, why in the world did Anthony Joshua go ahead and get rid of him? You know, why didn't Anthony Joshua go ahead and fight him when he was in position to do so? And basically in a position where he had to do so. But somehow found a way not to do it. And the answer to that is simple. AJ didn't want to. Eddie Hearn didn't want AJ to. And I feel like if Luis Ortiz was a mandatory for one of AJ's title right now, if Luis Ortiz was in that position Povetkin was in, where he was the WBA mandatory, I think it was WBA that was ordering AJ to fight Povetkin. If that was Luis Ortiz sitting there, and AJ was trying to make that Wilder fight, and they told him, you got 24 hours to make this fight with Luis Ortiz, or we're going to strip you. I think AJ would have went and hand-delivered that belt to the WBA and said, I'm trying to make this fight with Wilder. Because I look at it like this. I think both fights are extremely dangerous for AJ, but I think there's no way he's going to take a mandatory against Luis Ortiz for much less money than he would a unification fight against Wilder for the most money he's ever made. You know, so even if Undisputed wasn't on the table, I think he'd still make that fight. And the thing about it is, I think Luis Ortiz is probably one of the only heavyweights who, if he had that WBA title, would be ready and willing to jump right into a fight against the winner of AJ and Wilder for Undisputed with no reservations whatsoever, just ready to get the fight made. Pay me fairly, let's get it done. But I feel like if Povetkin beat AJ and became the unified champion, I think Wilder would have had just as hard a time getting a Povetkin fight as it would have been an AJ fight, with Povetkin having those titles. You know, because Povetkin knows he's fighting Wilder, he's gonna have to be clean, and he's failed to be able to do that when given opportunity, and he also failed to be able to do that in the subsequent fight after that when he was gonna fight Romain Stavern. And then I think they went ahead and I think he fought Christian Hammer or somebody, and they basically on steroids, and they were like, they were okay with it, and he annihilated the guy. But it's not what the video's about. The video's about Luis Ortiz. All I'm gonna say is, you guys continuously make excuses for why guys shouldn't fight Ortiz, and the reality is, if you're being 100% honest, these guys shouldn't fight Ortiz because they don't feel like they can beat him, and you guys are okay with that. But all of these other excuses, to me, they hold no weight. Shout out to the LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. Hit that like button. Hit that bell icon. Drop a comment in the comment section. I'm out. Peace.